New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
And now the good news. It is Friday afternoon or evening, depending where you are in the world. And I am so delighted. I am Barbara Jean, and I am going to bring you some great news stories tonight. And so get ready, buckle up, and enjoy some good news. This is what we do every Friday here at the New Thought Media Network. Well, the first one is a man has a dream about having a heart attack, and it leads to a real-life diagnosis and a life-saving surgery. So a man who dreamed he died of a heart attack took it as a sign and was soon diagnosed with a dangerous heart condition. Thank goodness for dreams. Jeremy Schwartz had a vivid dream in which he suddenly died of a heart attack while climbing Amadablam, a 22,000-foot mountain he was due to climb during the then upcoming month of October in 2025. Earlier that year, he rode a bicycle across the whole 1,000-mile length of Italy and completed a solo 120-mile circumnavigation of a mountain range in Albania. In short, he was the last 63-year-old you would imagine suffering a heart attack. Nevertheless, after awaking from his dream, Schwartz immediately searched online for a consultant cardiologist and went for an appointment 2 days later. I've never had anything like a premonition before, but this dream was so strong and so clear that it left me with an overwhelming sense of importance and urgency. It was so vivid, clear, and memorable. Schwartz underwent a heart scan, blood tests, an MRI, CT scan, and an echocardiogram before being told he had an aortic aneurysm, a dangerous weakening and bulging of the aorta that can rupture just a few days before his flight to the mountain in Nepal. He was transferred from the consultant to Cesar Quarto, a cardiac surgeon of the Cleveland Clinic's London location, and successfully underwent the David procedure, an open heart surgery that replaces a diseased aortic root. Schwartz said his diagnosis came as a complete shock. "I am not a tarot card reader or a spiritualist, and I'm not religious," said the former executive turned motivational speaker. "I think my subconscious helped make sure I became aware of something that might otherwise have remained hidden." The 6-hour surgery was completed without complications, and the staff at the Cleveland Clinic got Schwartz walking almost immediately after his surgery. "It's not the first time I've heard a similar story," said Dr. Quarto. "I strongly believe some patients have an eternal alarm bell that starts ringing. Some are able to hear it, and some aren't. I think some of us ignore those warning bells, don't you?" All right, moving along. So our next story, this one's really awesome. I love this. A moving company that offers free moves to domestic violence victims in 8 states, and it's been thousands so far. Getting out of an abusive relationship is vital, yet packing up and moving out is more than daunting. But thanks to Meathead Movers, it's much easier and doesn't cost a dime to leave a spouse or partner behind and start a new future. For 25 years, California's largest independently owned moving company, has been helping end domestic violence in their state by offering their moving services for free to those who need it. Even better, they launched a coalition in 2015 that attracted 8 other moving companies in the United States to join them in their mission. The program they launched, hashtag Move to End DV, has inspired over 200 businesses to pledge free services for domestic violence survivors, from moving to self-storage, and even security companies in 3 California cities that will send a guard during your move. Last year alone, Meathead Movers completed 106 domestic violence-related moves for free, including 8 emergency moves in the cities they serve: San Luis Obispo, Ventura County, Orange County, Fresno, and Bakersfield. Founded by brothers Aaron and Evan Steed, the company is a powerful example of how businesses can create community impact through service. Wow, I love that. Well, we're going to take a short little commercial break here, and then we'll be right back with more good news here on the New Thought Media Network. Don't go away.
Come expand your spiritual journey. Join us for Just the Talk, Sundays, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Experience Unity Kitchener and Ottawa. Center for Spiritual Living Midtown. Center for Spiritual Living Denver. Unity of Garden Park. New Thought Philadelphia. The Sunshine Cathedral. Unity of Savannah. And the Ohm Center for Spiritual Living. Come unleash your spiritual potential with New Thought Media Network.
Well, this story is just really, really interesting. A Pennsylvania man finds his neighbor's lost family diamond while on vacation in Florida. Talk about a gem of a story. That's a funny first line. What started as a heartbreaking loss for one Pennsylvania woman turned into a cross-country mystery solved thanks to a jeweler, a Facebook post, and some very observant neighbors. Cindy Ware of Chester County, Pennsylvania, realized a few months ago that the diamond from her ring, a stone passed down through her late husband's family, had vanished. I still don't believe it. It's in my purse now, but I still don't believe it, she said, after being reunited with it. At the time, she had no idea where it could have gone. Meanwhile, hundreds of miles away in Florida, her neighbor, Coleman, made a surprising discovery. While wearing his water shoes on vacation at the beach and by the pool, something unusual caught his eye. Went down there, wore them on the beach, to the pool, and when I saw it in my shoe, I assumed I picked it up in Florida, probably at the pool, Coleman explained. The small stone was lodged perfectly in the sole of his water shoe. He figured it was just a piece of glass or maybe a fake gem, but just to be sure, he stopped by a jeweler in Fort Lauderdale. That's when the story took a turn. He said, yes, it's a diamond from the 50s or 60s, an older cut, nice coloring, and said, this is a good piece of jewelry. Stunned, he shared a photo on Facebook of the diamond sitting in the bottom of his shoe, joking about the strange find. Within minutes, a friend back home in the Kendall Crossroads community in Chester County recognized it as possibly belonging to Cindy. On Valentine's Day, the mystery was confirmed. Cindy believes the stone likely fell out during one of her pool exercise classes. Coleman, who plays water volleyball in the same pool, may have unknowingly stepped on it at just the right angle, embedding it securely in the sole of his shoe. Somehow it stayed there through his entire Florida trip. A diamond in a swimming pool to be found at all is pretty much impossible. Too many things to have happened just right for me to even know where it was or how it was saved on that shoe. Wow, that's an interesting story, don't you think? One in a million. Oh, this one is so sweet. She was feeling low on confidence, so her classmates covered her desk in sticky notes. Sometimes the best lessons happen outside the textbook. Joanne Miller, who runs the inspiring social media account Head Over Heels for Teaching, shared a story that will melt your heart. Look at this sweet girl. One of the students had been feeling low on confidence, but her classmates decided to change that. This was 100% their idea, Joanne wrote. Another student led the way and shared his idea with our class, and they all went all in. While she was out of our room, they covered her desk and chair with sticky notes full of truth, kindness, and reminders of who she is. Yeah. The moment of the reveal, priceless. Her classmates, oh dear, her classmates ran to hug the friend who came up with the idea, completely overwhelmed by the love and support from her peers. Joanne reflected on why moments like these matter. When students learn to champion each other, that's the real win. You betcha. No state test can measure this. It's empathy in action. This is what building classroom community is all about. Isn't that beautiful? I'll tell you, kids these days, some of them are truly remarkable. I just love that story. All right, a teacher wins $1 million for turning slums into 800 plus classrooms. A teacher in India who transformed some of the country's most underserved communities into vibrant learning spaces has been awarded one of education's highest honors. Ruby Nagy, a 45-year-old artist, has received the prestigious $1 million Global Teacher Prize, an award launched by the Barclay Foundation in collaboration with UNESCO to recognize educators who have made exceptional contributions to the profession. According to the Global Teacher Prize website, Nagy was selected from 5,000 nominations and applications spanning 139 countries. But her journey didn't begin with a grand plan. Nearly 3 decades ago, a young boy walked into one of her art workshops in Mumbai. And Nagy soon learned that he lived in a slum and couldn't afford to attend school. That moment changed everything. She realized something powerful. Children in marginalized communities were eager to learn. They simply lacked access. And she believed art could be the bridge. Through her nonprofit organization, the Rubel Nagy Art Foundation, she began taking education directly into underserved areas. My mouth doesn't want to work. Over the years, her foundation has established more than 800 learning centers across India in over 100 underserved communities and villages. Instead of traditional classrooms alone, these centers use art-based learning to simplify complex subjects and spark curiosity. Learning can happen anywhere. You just have to make it interesting, as she said. Today, what started with one child's unexpected visit has grown into a nationwide movement, bringing education to thousands of young people who might otherwise have gone without it. And she's not slowing down. With the $1 million prize, Nagy hopes to expand her foundation's initiatives to even more communities across India. That is brilliant work. That is absolutely brilliant work. Uh, yeah, we here in North America have no idea about what it can be like in those slums, and it's really, yeah, it's really a little bit frightening for sure. All right, our next story. Okay, so I laughed so hard when I saw this when I was watching the Olympics. But meet Nazgul, the dog who crashed an Olympic ski race and nearly won. Athletes weren't the only ones racing for glory this week. In the middle of a cross-country ski event in Lago di Tesero, an unexpected competitor burst onto the home stretch, a 2-year-old dog named Nazgul. The determined pup had apparently had enough of being left behind. A stubborn but very sweet Czechoslovakian wolf dog managed to break free from his doghouse at a nearby B&B and made a run straight onto the course right as skiers were heading toward the finish line. Croatian skier Tena Hedzek, 21, was one of the athletes who suddenly found herself sharing the track. I was like, am I hallucinating? She said later. The Olympics even snapped a photo finish of Nazgul crossing the line, a moment that quickly lit up social media around the world. One commenter joked, I love that they got a photo finish of the dog crossing the line. Another added, releasing the hounds on cross-country skiers would certainly spice up the contest. That dog looks a little bit like my dog. That is amazing. Okay, well, here's a really unusual story. There's a man who discovers a rare mammoth bone in Missouri. Yeah, a discovery in northwest Missouri has taken us back in time when massive mammoths may have roamed the Midwest. Local paleontologist Jason Howry may have just made the most significant discovery of his career, a femur believed to belong to a Columbian mammoth. The bone was found at a site where earlier remains and associated tools had already been partially authenticated by professional anthropologists, adding even greater weight to the find. When I first got there, it was the very first thing that I saw. And I looked down and there it was. And I was like, no way. There's a specific texture to the Ice Age bone that doesn't feel like anything else in the world. When you feel it, it has this sticky, glassy texture to it. So as soon as my hands hit it, I was like, I know this feeling. Beyond the thrill of discovery, Howery is passionate about sharing what he finds. Through community programs and school outreach, he hopes to ignite curiosity in the next generation. Really, the goal is to inspire kids to put their phones down and get out into nature and explore because there's so much history that is still out there right below their feet. There are no guarantees in fossil hunting, but for Howard, that's part of the beauty of it. So many possibilities, and you never know what's going to be there. You don't always find things, but you find peace, you know? And sometimes, if you're lucky, you find a mammoth. I love that. I love that. Well, when I was in Africa, I got to see some rhinos, and so I thought I would throw in this rhino story. Diseased rhino recovers after a Florida zoo team surprised um, locals with pioneering veterinary tactics. A Florida zoo team recently traveled to Zimbabwe after they were asked to help a white rhino suffering from a parasitic eye infection. They came up with a ridiculous idea to corral the wild animal, earn its trust as if it were a horse or dog, and administer eye drops and other care. It took place outside of the Wangi National Park, where a special project called the Community Rhino Conservation Initiative was ongoing to reintroduce members of the southern white rhino subspecies onto communal lands to give locals a stake in the animal's future. The Palm Beach Zoo and Conservation Society CEO, Margot McKnight, was visiting the area in August of last year. She was alerted to a problem and asked to help. A male rhino named Thunza seemed to be on the verge of scratching himself blind. This rhino had bleeding eyes. He was rubbing his eyes, said the ironically named Mark Butcher, managing director at a local safari lodge supporting the initiative. Yeah, that's an unusual name. And I was looking at the potential where this guy was going to lose his eyesight. And this is in a pilot project that's got fantastic vision for a future for conservation through Africa. McKnight, along with several animal behaviorists from the Palm Beach Zoo, who arrived later, proposed a method they'd been developing with their own animals, where the injured or ill creature are desensitized to caregiving through their own volition. The essence of what that entailed, however, struck the locals as beyond the pale. Believe me, we didn't think of it. It was a completely ridiculous idea to us. But without trying all of the things that we could to rectify that situation, we would have been in trouble, I think. It entailed coaxing the rhinos into corrals using their favorite food before gradually helping them grow accustomed to the presence and touch of humans through skirting water on their face, petting them, and pulling gently on their horns. Within 2 weeks, they were able to get Thunza to come close to them, stay put while the team administered eye drops directly into the infected eye, and train the local security force to do the same in case the infection should return. The Florida Zoo team left excited both about Thunza's long-term health prospects. The southern white rhinoceros is the most numerous in the world and the most widely dispersed across Africa. Like all rhino, they are at severe risk of poaching for their horns, but when measured across the whole of their range, are not considered endangered. I believe it's only the black rhino that was considered endangered. All right. Mosquitoes. Don't you just love mosquitoes? Infecting mosquitoes with a natural bacteria lowered the dengue rate by 70% in a citywide experiment. A gold standard scientific trial revealed an existing mosquito control method works not only to reduce insect numbers, but also the diagnosis of dengue fever in the area. Uh, Dengue, also known as breakbone fever, is a severe viral infection spread by mosquitoes that can be debilitating when caught and lethal if caught again. In Singapore, populations of the Nile mosquito are controlled by releasing captive bred male mosquitoes carrying a kind of bacteria called Wolbachia, found on many insect genera. The Wolbachia, in this case, have been modified to make any eggs born via breeding with the infected mosquito sterile, a technique known as Wolbachia mediated incompatibility insect technique, sterile insect tech. Wow, that's a mouthful. Even though it is practiced in different parts of the world, there's never been a randomized control trial done on its effectiveness at controlling or reducing the transmission of mosquito borne diseases. The faculty of the Environment Health Institute and Singapore's National Environment Agency, along with a few collaborators, selected 15 densely populated areas of the city state and randomly divided them into groups that would receive a transplanted swarm of IIT-SIT male mosquitoes and others that would receive none. The scientists didn't know which areas saw the mosquito release when they began to use traps to catch and estimate mosquito population, but National Health Statistics to observe the number of dengue fever cases for 20 months. By the study's end in 2024, the amount of mosquitoes recorded inside the traps set in wards were released plummeted 77%. Of residents who tested positive for dengue fever, 21% were recorded in the control areas, while just 6% were in the study areas, a transmission reduction of around 71%. Those are pretty darn good results, if you ask me. Wow. The study is the first scientifically robust evidence that IIT-SIT Wolbachia is effective at controlling both dengue and the mosquitoes that spread it, invaluable as the world is living through a sort of dengue explosion. So that is really good news for this Friday. All right, Mardi Gras, get ready for a party. Oh, what a mess. Plastic Mardi Gras beads just end up in landfill. So Coalition swaps in seed beads and jambalaya spice packets. Flung plastic beads, coins, and other trinkets can seem like treasures in the heat of a Mardi Gras moment. But if you've ever seen the streets of New Orleans the morning after, you'd recognize only trash. That's why a coalition of government agencies and nonprofits is creating seed beads, biodegradable party favors, and culturally smart alternatives like bags of jambalaya spices as a way of cutting back on this mountain of party waste. It's not just about removing the unnecessary burden of 1,123 tons per year from the landfill. It's a climate necessity, as the countless plastic objects have been found time and time again to clog the stormwater system. It should be very serious in New Orleans. It's been 22 years since Hurricane Katrina caused one of America's largest and most destructive weather-related disasters, and anything that impedes the city's drainage capacity is considered far more than inconvenience. Grounds Crew, one of the nonprofits working to reduce the environmental footprint of Mardi Gras, operates within a coalition organized by the city's tourism association called Recycle Dat. I like that. Recycle Dat. At first, the coalition would work to gather up all the Mardi Gras waste, whether drink cans or plastic beads, and either repackage them or recycle them. Founder of Grounds Crew, Brett Davis, realized that unfortunately the work was cleaning the streets of toxic, cheap crap no one wanted and preparing it only to clutter the streets again. Since the 2024 Mardi Gras season, he's managed to sell $1 million of interesting and/or environmentally sound throws. Davis, a New Orleans native, told the New York Times that when he was a kid, there was desperation to catch anything that came off the parade floats that plied the city center. After regulations came into effect that prevented any logo or identifiable image on objects thrown from the floats, the name of the game became the cheapest, least valuable stuff participants could afford. It led to the kind of bead fatigue, and now most of what's thrown from the float is neither caught nor desired. Davis's opinion is that all this could change if what's thrown off the floats is actually interesting. So far, he has assembled a large team of volunteers of all age groups to put together tiny burlap sacks of jambalaya slice, native flower seed mix, or plant-based glitter. It's not a totally new idea to throw things of value. In the carnival culture of Mardi Gras, some floats bring really interesting things like hand-painted coconuts, and the idea of scarcity, of throwing something that people actually want, something rare and interesting, not only reduces the ecological footprint of the event, but brings back some of the animus it had when Davis was young. What a great idea. I'll tell you, the people of this world, brilliant to say the least. And now we have our hero of the week. I wasn't going to let that baby die. Man jumps into a frigid Lake Michigan after a stroller blows in. When seconds matter and a baby's life was on the line, one man didn't hesitate, even though he says he doesn't know how to swim. That was brave. According to reporting by ABC 7 Chicago, a gust of wind sent a stroller carrying an 8-month-old girl rolling straight into Lake Michigan at Belmont Harbor on Wednesday afternoon. Multiple witnesses immediately sprang into action. One of them was Leo Cundiff, who says he doesn't even swim. I see a stroller getting blown into the lake and a lady screaming. The baby's mother could only watch in horror. I can tell she was too panicked to do anything. So I was like, I guess I'm jumping in. I wasn't going to let that baby die. That's crazy. Without hesitation, he dove into Lake Michigan, which remains dangerously cold despite warmer air temperatures this week. Her kid could have been gone, he said. Cundiff later spoke from his hospital bed, where he was being monitored overnight for his heart and after the rescue. I'm just glad the stroller was up, not face down, he said. The baby dipped under a couple of times, but I was able to keep her up, and she was breathing and crying when we got her out. Other witnesses helped pull him safely back onto dry land. Chicago police said the girl was taken to Lurie Children's Hospital for observation and was listed in good condition. Well, how's that for good news on this Friday night, February the 27th? We're at the end of the month. We're coming close to the end of winter. I'm getting excited about that. Spring is around the corner, hopefully. I did not see what was that little guy? I can't remember him. Well, you know which little animal I'm talking about that always sees its shadow. I don't know why I can't remember the name all of a sudden. Anyway, I want to thank you all for being here tonight. I want to just say, there's more good news to come. We're here every week bringing you something wonderful for 30 minutes on a Friday night. Just a beautiful way to go into your weekend. So stay strong, stay healthy, and stay happy, because life is worth living, and living it fully. You're watching And Now the Good News here on the New Thought Media Network. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And by the way, we are a not-for-profit. So to make sure this program continues, be sure to send a donation to ntmedia.org by just going to the website and clicking the donate link. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next time. More good news to come. Bye for now.